Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you all for stopping by. I've had a really bad flu, and I actually still have it, but you know, the show must go on because yes, it is. It's Christmas. I don't have an ugly Christmas sweater to wear, but I am wearing my favorite hockey team.
Woohoo! Yeah!
So,
Yeah! Yeah!
hey, all right, we have some Hab fans here. Woo! You know, I spent 30 years of my life not celebrating Christmas when I was a Jehovah's Witness. I uncelebrated, or whatever you want to call it. And I'd always listen to some of the excuses that the witnesses would say as to why they didn't like Christmas. You know, things like this one. That was the story of my life. Yes, you can get gifts all year round, but the thing is you never do. In fact, you never get any gifts. Not only do you not get any gifts, but you tend to not give gifts either. You know, I realized when I started celebrating Christmas few years ago, what a crappy wrapper I was when I was wrapping gifts. And I realized the reason for this is because I never gave gifts to people. Or, you know, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, if you ever gave gifts to people, it was more just, oh, here's some money for gas, or, you know, I'll take you out for dinner, or something like that, or maybe here's a bottle of wine or something. But I don't ever remember really wrapping gifts for people and giving them to them. So, but you know, I love celebrating Christmas. Even when I was a JW, I still loved the Christmas time period. Because even as a JW, we had our own traditions. I mean, on Christmas Day, all of us would go skiing. And what was really great about it was that the worldly people tended to not be on the slopes on those days because they were off celebrating Christmas. So it was almost all Jehovah's Witnesses skiing. And it was really fun. And we'd bring our bottle of Baileys and our hot toddies or hot buttered rums or whatever you call them. I remember we'd make gingerbread houses. And not on Christmas Day, but the day after, or very, very, you know, right around that time period, my mom would always have a big Christmas, well, I shouldn't say that, a big turkey dinner, masking as a Christmas dinner. She'd say, oh, it's not Christmas dinner. The turkey was on sale and everyone's off anyway, so we might as well get together and have dinner. But, I mean, these were the kind of things that we did at Christmas time. But now that I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, I love celebrating Christmas. And if anyone has a problem with that, I can always say this. Finally, I've got the headship principle working for me. I like that. But you know, as I was saying, to me, Christmas is a very happy time of year. It's a time of year when you want to focus on other people and giving to them, being generous to other people, focusing on those who are not as fortunate as you. It's a time when you can relax and regroup and spend time with your loved ones. I mean, when you think about it, even the Israelites had festivities that they looked forward to. You know, they'd make a golden calf. No, just kidding. But I think there was like 3 times a year the Israelites got together and they had festivities that they looked forward to. But JW.org has nothing. I mean, the only thing they celebrate is what they call the Lord's evening meal. And you think, oh, a meal, there's going to be food there? Yeah, there's going to be food. Like what? Well, there's bread and wine and, oh, can I have some? No. No, you're going to see it and you're going to pass it. You know, maybe you can sniff it, I suppose. But other than that, you pass it to the next person and they pass it to the next person. Nobody eats it. It's a very solemn occasion. It's a real barn burner. No, I mean, it is the Lord's evening meal. It's not, you can't expect it to be a fun place. It's basically a funeral. But the point I'm getting at is that is the only thing that they celebrate. And then they'll say, well, we've got our conventions and we look forward to that. You think, oh, well, what happens at your conventions? Well, we sit and we listen to talks for, you know, 8 or 9 hours a day. And if you try to get up and, you know, chat with people, that's obviously frowned upon, right? You're going to be shushed and sent back to your seat. And maybe they'll even mention you from the convention program. But not in a good way, trust me. If they mention you from the platform, it ain't good. You know, so this is not fun. Sitting and listening to, their program, program of indoctrination is not fun. JW.org is a organization that enjoys all the tax benefits of a charitable organization without being charitable. I mean, they don't have any programs for widows or orphans or homeless people or feeding people who, like soup kitchens like other organizations have. They do nothing for these people. Their big idea of giving to someone is handing them a Wake or Watchtower magazine. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You've got a homeless guy sitting there and you've got the witnesses there with their cart. And the best that they can do for him is to offer him a magazine. But it's not going to taste good with ketchup. Trust me. It'll probably leave a very foul taste in your mouth too. So I wanted to make this video because I want people to see that it's nearly impossible to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses organization without having your friends and family held hostage from you. What they say to the public, and what they say even to their own rank and file members, is very different from what their internal secret policies show. For example, are you aware that if a Jehovah's Witness who has actually left the organization or tried to leave the organization and has been away for over a year, if this person celebrates Christmas, that they will either be disfellowshipped or forcefully disassociated from the organization and thus lose their friends and family, have them shun them? It's very shocking because I couldn't find anything within their publications that shows that this is the case. I mean, I'm not saying it's not there. I don't know. I scoured the Society CD and I couldn't find anything in writing where it says that they do this. The only place I could find it in writing is in their internal secret elders book. And the rank and file members do not have access to this. I mean, I'm not saying they don't know that this would be the punishment. I'm just saying it's nowhere in writing. And the other thing that's interesting about it is that their own governing body member, Jeffrey Jackson, said recently that this is not the case, that he doesn't believe that this is the case, that they are not punished when they've tried to leave the organization if they celebrate Christmas. But today you're going to hear shocking evidence from an actual judicial committee where this did happen. So let's first of all see what Jeffrey Jackson said.
Your first proposition you put forward, that they meet someone who's celebrating Christmas. This person is not associating with other Jehovah's Witnesses, not actively trying to change other people and so on. A person such as that is not going to be handled judicially, as far as I understand. Sorry, I have to disagree with you.
Well, no, but Mr. Jackson, you're disagreeing on the example of what they do wrong. And that's not my point. My point is they may do nothing wrong, but they're still subject to the rules of the organization in the event that at some point they do something wrong.
I will agree with that, but I don't agree with the sweeping statement. They only have the two choices. Well, that was the point I was disagreeing with.
Well, it's right then, isn't it? Because if they don't want to be subject to the discipline and rules of the organization, then they have to leave by actively dissociating. Isn't that the truth?
That's if they definitely don't want to be, yes. But there are some that do not want to make that active move.
Well, the result then is they're faced with the choice between the freedom from the organization on the one hand and having to lose their family and friends and social network on the other.
So you heard what Jeffrey Jackson said at the Royal Australian Commission. He said it was possible for people to fade, and if in time it was discovered that they were celebrating Christmas, as long as they weren't trying to sway people out of the organization, then there would not be a judicial committee. But the fact is that that is a lie. There are people who do try to fade, and if you're not sure what exactly that means, it's a gradual process of trying to slip away from the organization. So you stop going to meetings for a while, or you just go intermittently to the odd meeting, once a month and then once every 2 months. You kind of let go of your JW friends, so no one's going to rat on you anymore because you're not really friends with them anyways. And you just kind of slowly fade out of the organization. But what the lawyer was saying, that even ones who go away quietly are still subjected to the rules of the organization, because eventually you might end up breaking a rule. Like, for example, maybe you're caught smoking, or maybe you are caught celebrating Christmas, or maybe you join the YMCA and somebody sees you and somebody rats on you. Next thing you know, you've got this judicial committee that wants to meet with you. And you may say, well, I don't want to meet with them. You know, I'm not part of the organization. I haven't been for over a year. But the problem is that they can disassociate you in absentia. So they might still say, well, by your actions, you disassociated yourself. And then they make the announcement from the Kingdom Hall, from the platform, and then your family and friends, whatever friends you may have left, but definitely you'll still have family. And if they're in the organization, that's their cue to cut you off. And to me, it just reminds me of a criminal who is caught. You know, let's just say you happen to witness a criminal in action, and he sees that you see him. He may try to kill you. Now, the JW org does not try to kill you, but they make you dead to your relatives, to your family, and to your friends. They make you as if you are dead by discrediting you. They call you an apostate. It's like you're a leper to them. They will completely cut you off. As soon as they say, we want this person cut off by this person disassociated from us, that's their cue to treat you like you're a leper. And they feel, oh, Satan's gotten into you now, and you're this apostate, and you're speaking out, and you're saying horrible things, and that's the way they operate. And this is the reason why they do this, is they view people like me as a threat, and that is their cue to disassociate someone. I mean, people might say, well, I was able to fade out of the organization. I wasn't ever disfellowshipped. I wasn't ever disassociated, to my knowledge. My family still speaks to me. I faded out. The difference is, are you someone they view as a threat? I have seen people fade out of the organization, but they weren't a real threat. And one of the reasons is because they may have moved, and therefore the organization basically lost track of you. Or you are somebody who just keeps quiet. There are people who really just want to turn the page and they want nothing to do with it. So but then they have to live in like a bubble. It's like being part of a witness protection program, or in this case, it's an ex-witness protection program, where you're constantly looking over your shoulder, you know? What if somebody saw me join the YMCA? What if someone saw me join that yoga studio? You know, you've got kids and they want to go out for Halloween. Well, that will get you disassociated. Do you want to really live the rest of your life not being able to say what you want to say? That's why I speak out now. I don't care what they say about me anymore. I really don't. But I want you then to hear actual testimony, or I shouldn't say testimony, it's actual a recording of, it was a judicial committee where this very exact same situation happened. And you're going to hear what went down with the elders. And I just want you to be aware of the timing of it all. So Jeffrey Jackson gave his testimony in August of 2015. And this judicial committee that you're going to hear right now was from around January of 2016. And I've only attached an excerpt from the recording because it's actually quite long. But I put a link in the description of this video, so if you want to see or hear the whole thing, you can. It's one of Mike and Kim's videos. Okay, so have a listen.
So, as you know, based on is that doing your celebration of different holidays and such, that is a form of apostasy. And that's the reason why we're here today. It's basically on that. Mm-hmm. And we're concerned that, you know, we've seen you, or, you know, we see you partaking of that, which is going right against what Jehovah's Word has said, and making sure that you realize that, and is that the path that you really want to follow, Dan?
Right.
So.
Right, I understand. I guess obviously we're here to, I haven't talked to either of you when you've come by, because we're just trying to leave quietly, but obviously it's hit this point to where there needs to be a discussion. So the judicial committee is for apostasy of holidays, is that
That's
essentially
right. Yeah, it's a form of apostasy.
Where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
What about this arrangement is causing the heartache if you want nothing to do with it?
The heartache is that we were removing ourselves quietly. Removing ourselves. What's causing the heartache is we get this letter certified, signed by 3 brothers to come in. That's the heartache.
Do you know why we sent the letter?
To bring us in for a judicial committee.
the last time we were at your house, you told us not to come back.
And I would, but you didn't respect that, because as opposed to just walking away and not coming back, we get a letter for judicial committee.
But our responsibility as brothers is also to keep the congregation away from any type of influence that are in accordance with Jehovah's will.
Mm-hmm.
So individuals see that you're celebrating different holidays and such. You know, they need, you know, we have to protect them so
Right.
that they're not contaminated.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I understand that. Right.
I mean, type of thing.
That's
In
why we
regard-
are not. That's why
That's
we
why
have
we
no
removed
friends.
ourselves.
We're.
And I
We
understand,
plucked
but
ourselves
But you're
out.
not. We don't want you taking away Dan's parents and my mother. And that.
But we're not taking them away. Your actions are taking them away.
No, that's not
No,
true.
that's not true.
You know, that's what it boils down to. Is
No,
that
it's not. So I guess we've covered everything. What's going to happen?
Well, we need to deliberate. You know, we need to talk.
Deliberate away, and I'm going to tell you, here's the options you got. I just want to take my family of 4 and live our life. That's what I want. And I hope you realize that if we get tossed into a mix to where our families are getting taken away, I've got plenty of time and assets to put towards trying to teach as many people as I can about the damaging factors of this organization. You leave me alone, you say, have a good life, and I take my letters and I leave, that's it. My mouth's sealed, we're done. I have no hard feelings. Because I feel like that would be you guys respecting my wishes, my freedoms of worshiping God however I please. But if you don't, that feels like a personal attack. And I will fight back. And I will fight back for the rest of my life. I will fight back. If you start messing with somebody's family, that's their life.
I think we're very clear on where you stand.
So there you have it. Although no decision was made that night, I heard from the lady who was in the recording that soon after the elders informed them that they had disassociated themselves. So Jeffrey Jackson, once again, has been proved a liar. Can you imagine if you were a member of the congregation and knew this couple, and you're sitting there and the elders are making an announcement that, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so has disassociated themselves? You're going to think, wow, they want nothing to do with God's organization. They're separating themselves. You're going to think horrible thoughts. And then, of course, you're going to cut them off. But that's not what happened at all, is it? They tried, they realized that this is not the true organization. And, you know, just like spotting the criminal, you've caught them in a lie, you've caught them as hypocrites, you know they're wrong, and you don't want to be part of it anymore. So you separate yourself from it. And they slowly tried to fade. But the elders wouldn't have that, would they? They forced them through a certified letter to show up at the Kingdom Hall to have this judicial committee. And as you know, if they didn't show up for the judicial committee, they could have said, oh, we don't want to be part of it. It doesn't matter. They still would have been disassociated. But here they showed up just to try to plead their case and say to them, look, we're trying to pull out, but you're not letting us. We just want to get on with our lives. There's no reason in the world why the elders had to disassociate them and separate them from their families. And in fact, as I said to you, the only place in their literature where it actually says this is in the Secret Elders book. So let's have a look and see what it does say there. So notice under the subheading there, apostasy, it says celebrating false religious holidays. And if you drop down, it also talks about deliberately spreading teachings contrary to Bible truth as taught by Jehovah's Witnesses. I love that part at the end, as taught by JWs. I just find the stand that Jehovah's Witnesses take on Christmas to be very hypocritical. I mean, they have no problem accepting pay for these holidays, nor accepting any holiday bonuses, as you'll see from this old watchtower. So from the December 15th, 1965 Watchtower questions from readers, this person says, I work for a large company that annually gives a Christmas bonus to all its employees as a gift. Should we as witnesses of Jehovah accept such gifts? And the answer they basically say is, no, there's nothing wrong, nothing scripturally wrong with accepting it if your employer wants to give you a gift during the Christmas season. What I find hypocritical is that, yes, they'll gladly take these gifts, while at the same time condemning the people for doing these things. And a Jehovah's Witness who happens to be an employer would never give their employees any Christmas bonus of any kind. And in fact, they're very, I've known Jehovah's Witness employers, and some of them are the absolute worst employers you could possibly have. Some of the ones that were in my congregation, they wouldn't even give their employees holiday pay. They say, well, we don't celebrate Christmas, so you shouldn't get it. Even though it's the law in Canada that you have to pay your employees holiday pay. They'd say, well, we don't celebrate Christmas, so you shouldn't get paid for it. Yeah, very crappy employers. That's just my observation. They refuse to celebrate Christmas due to its pagan origins. Yet, there's so many other things with pagan origins that they have no problem with. Like wedding bands, for example. They're fine with that, although wedding bands have pagan origins. Heck, their own organization has pagan origins. Do you remember some of the things they'd have on the cover of their literature? They had that cross with that weird Masonic symbol around it. They had pyramids. They had all kinds of wacky pagan symbols on the cover of their literature. And these went on for years, well after Jesus so-called cleansed them in 1919. It went on for like 35 years before they realized that pyramids were considered pagan. I guess Jehovah finally thought, after 35 years, I think it's time I had these pagan symbols removed off my literature. But I was okay with it for the first 35 years. It's crazy. And they're okay with wind chimes. Check out what this article here says about wind chimes. From the 1981 June 1st Watchtower Questions from Readers, would it be wrong for a Christian to use wind chimes in his or her home? It talks there about how it is, notice what I've highlighted, it is the custom in some countries to put up wind chimes with the thought that they will keep evil spirits from entering the home. And then notice what it says at the bottom. If one's motive in putting up a wind chime has nothing to do with false religion, superstition, or demonism, and there's little possibility of others getting the wrong impression regarding its use in the home, it is a simple matter for personal decision. So demonism is fine. And who can forget this gem of an article from the September 22nd, 2003 Awake magazine, where it talks about the piñata and all of its pagan origins. It talks about, just look at what I've highlighted, I'm going to read some of these parts off. How the piñata was part of the New Year's celebrations. It became a custom for what they did at Lent. The Aztecs had a form of it that they would use. Spanish missionaries had used it to symbolize, among other things, the Christians' struggle to conquer the devil. And then later it says the piñata today, how it's become part of the festivities of the posadas during the Christmas season and continues as such to this day. A star-shaped piñata is used to represent the star that guided the astrologers to Bethlehem. Breaking the piñata is also considered indispensable at birthday parties. But then it goes on to say that for many people it's lost its religious significance and it's just harmless fun. And notice there, the main point of this article is to say this: a main concern is not what the practice meant hundreds of years ago, but how it is viewed today in your area. Hence, it is wise to avoid turning such matters into big issues. So Christmas has pagan origins, but based upon the reasoning from the article about piñatas that we just had a look at, Christmas too has lost its religious significance. Walk down the street and ask almost anybody, why do they celebrate Christmas in the Western world? And I think you're going to have a really hard time finding anybody who says that they celebrated because of the pagan origins. Most people celebrate it because it's simply what they've always done. It's become part of our Western culture. It's a fun holiday. It's a great time to get together. It's fun to give gifts to one another. Merchants love it. People love it. But you know, somebody saw this article about the piñatas, and they had a very interesting question to ask Watchtower about it. Let's see how they responded. So from the July 8th, 2004 Watchtower, somebody says, I read with interest the article, The Piñata, an Ancient Tradition. It left me with some questions. The ties to false religion are well documented, but the article seemed to take the position that as long as it doesn't bother someone's conscience, it is okay. What about birthdays and holidays such as Christmas? Awake responds, Christians refrain from any celebrations or customs that continue to involve false religious beliefs or activities that violate Bible principles. For example, the Bible definitely puts birthday celebrations in a bad light. Well, if you go back and have a look at the piñata article, you're going to see that it's still used in birthday celebrations today. So I don't understand what their reasoning is here. And if you want to take that further, the Bible puts dogs in a bad light. You know, many more times in the Bible, dogs are referred to, I think like over 20 times in a bad light. So this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So here's a thought. J.W. Org says that in 1919, Jehovah selected them above all the other religious organizations in the world. They were the only ones that were clean in God's eyes. But what were they doing back then? Celebrating Christmas. Guilty of apostasy. So here they are, celebrating Christmas, apostatizing. They also had crosses on their literature. They worshiped Jesus. So clearly Jehovah had no problem with any of these things, and certainly not with us celebrating Christmas. After all, this all happened after 1919, when God selected them and when Jesus had cleansed them. So this is not a problem for God, clearly. Is J.W. Org trying to be more righteous than God by punishing members, calling them apostates and cutting them off from their families, when even Jehovah could overlook these things on them? There's so many reasons why the Judicial Committee that we heard from earlier should never have happened. But this is what J.W. Org does. They say one thing to the public to give them a false impression, and they do something entirely different to their members from their secret policies. And they do exactly what the lawyer in Australia says that they do. They're a captive organization that will not allow people to just leave and go about their business and get on with their lives. They have to somehow interfere and cut you off from your families. When other religions do this, they frown and look down upon it. Let's have a look and see what I'm talking about here. This is from the 2009 Awake magazine, where it asks the question, is it wrong to change your religion? And see where the arrow is there. It says, when Avtar began studying the Bible, her Sikh family was upset. In my homeland, she says, changing your religion cuts you off from the community. Even our names have religious meaning. To change your religion is viewed as rejecting your identity and disrespecting your family. So when you read this article, you're made to feel that, wow, that's not right. People shouldn't do that. People should be able to leave their religion and join the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. Except they don't see the hypocrisy when they do it to others. And always remember, Christmas is not even mentioned in the Bible. It is J.W. Org's policy to punish people and cut them off for celebrating Christmas. And yet, look what they say about their own policies.
The policies have to be approved by the governing body to ensure that they are in keeping with scriptural principles.
That's correct. But the fact that the policies at times need to be changed shows that there is leeway there.
Ah, so there's leeway there. So because it's not actually in the Bible, they can change their policy whenever they want. It was their policy at one time to celebrate Christmas, as we saw from the pictures that I showed earlier. And now it's their policy to not celebrate Christmas and to punish people who do. Jehovah's Witnesses blindly just go along with whatever these men leading the organization say. When you can celebrate Christmas, great, let's celebrate Christmas. When you can't, okay, we won't, and we'll punish our family for doing it. So this business of you are disassociating yourself from your family, we're not disassociating you, is strictly a policy matter. And as we heard, there's leeway when it comes to the policy matters. And always remember, the Bible tells us not to judge others with what festivals they choose to observe. Colossians 2 verse 16 says, therefore do not let anyone judge you about what you eat and drink or about the observance of a festival. So the organization cherry picks what they believe is right or wrong. They're okay with pagan piñatas or pagan wedding rings or demonic wind chimes. These are all okay. But celebrate Christmas and you'll lose your family. How ridiculous. I mean, it's not a gross sin, so there's absolutely no reason in the world why they should have this kind of policy. I mean, I'm not encouraging people to celebrate Christmas. I'm not encouraging them from not celebrating Christmas. It should be a matter of choice, free from any punishment. I mean, I personally love it. And that's why I've decided to do something very special for you today. And that is I'm going to have a little song that I've created for you to put you in the holiday mood. Or maybe it's going to end up spoiling the holiday mood for you. I don't know. But at any rate, enjoy. You better watch out, but no need to cry. You might want to shout, I'm telling you why. The elders are stalking you now. And not the nice kind of Christmas stockings either. They watch what you say, they watch what you do. They want the control, they're spying on you. The elders are stalking you now. They know what you've been saying. They saw all of your rants. They know that you've been bad, not good, so put on your tightest pants. Oh, they want to judge you, so take my advice. They made up their list, you're not under nice. The elders are stalking you now. They don't see you at meetings. They know you are awake. They want you to keep quiet, but tell all for goodness sakes. So there's no need to fear. The elders are here. Just tell them to go. They've no power, hell no. The elders are stalking. The elders are talking. The elders are walking away. Yay! Thank you all for watching this show. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you all next time. Happy holidays to you.